All right, here we are for week 15 of the Kotlin and Architecture Components project. Let's take a look at what we've been building. This page right here represents a spot where people can go to trade Ethereum for US dollars. They've got people up here who want to sell. So this person wants to sell, say, 236 Ethereum tokens at a price of $335.01. And then down here are people who want to buy. And when they agree to a price, we get a trade that shows up over here in the trade history section, and we've got a nice price chart in the middle. Our goal for this project is to recreate this UI as an Android app. And it says I need to update, so we'll click that and it'll refresh the page for us. Also, if I'm not able to be heard very well or anything's not visible, just let me know. I come in here and check the chat every once in a while to make sure that nothing's gone funky on me. All right, let's look at the app. When you first open the app, the first thing it's going to do is it clears the database where we have put all of this data. Then, once it's up and running, we get the trade history page, which shows us the orders over here. And as you'll see, we're just a little bit behind, so we've got this 33401 is right here next to the 03. And that happens sometimes. I don't think that's any fault of the app. That's just, you know, either my computer is slow or the WebSocket's slow or whatever. Then we've got the price chart page, which is what we've been working on more currently. So in the last video, what we just finished doing is we set up the price chart to have the green bars, the red bars, and the green bars aren't filled in and the red bars are. So just like this. And just as a quick recap, actually I can find a good graphic for that stock candle just to show what that is. And you know what, I bet an images search would give us a better, quicker picture of it, but let's see if this first result got it. Not so good. Stock candlestick. So here we go. Perfect. So all a candlestick does is summarize a certain period. So looking at this chart, we're looking at 6 hours. And that means that each one of these candlesticks or candles is a 6-hour time period. And during that time period, depending on how the candle looks, it tells you what the high was during the period, what the low was during the period, and whether it went down, so it opened and closed down here. So at the beginning of the period it was higher, and at the end it was lower, or if it went up, in which case it's green and not filled in. Though sometimes the green ones are filled in, and sometimes they use a little bit different colors, but that's what a candlestick is, and that's what we're looking at in these charts and what we're trying to recreate. And right as we finished last week, the last step we did to the price chart is we added a little space off to the right here, and we added a little space at the bottom so we could put in some data information and some price information. And also notice that we've got it such that we've got the bottom of the chart at the bottom of the screen, the top at the top of the screen. We've done some kind of squeezing of the data to get it to fit in here. And so that's the price chart page. And just to give an idea of how this app is structured, we've got one activity with a toolbar where we set different titles for. And then we have 3 fragments, which we switch using this down here, which I think is called a bottom navigation view. And so we've got a trade history fragment, a price chart fragment, and an order book fragment, which when clicked on, I think this is kind of cool, jumps us to the middle of the recycler view. So see here, we can scroll down in this recycler view and we can scroll up. And when we switch to it, it started us right in the middle, which is where you where you get a better idea of what's going on. And also, I think it was in last week's video, is this title section, or the toolbar rather, we can make it scroll in and out based on how we're scrolling here. And we do the same thing on the trade history page, but it was giving us issues on the price chart page where we would see this, say for example, if we had scrolled this up out of the way and we click over to order book, see it comes back. But before, it wouldn't come back and it would be out of the way. Then we click on price chart and the whole price chart would be shifted up by just, you know, this distance from here to here. And so we had to put in some special handling to deal with that. And so since I've talked about that, let's go look at what that was, because that would be good to remember, since that's a use case that we've seen or I've seen now at least a couple of times. So let's see here, get this maximized for us. Okay, we've got some statements there. Where was it? There we go. So it is this code. That's right. That's why I can't remember exactly what we did. It's because it was just a copy and paste solution and paste in the Stack Overflow answer. So this seems to be one of those instances in Android that happens every once in a while where you just need to put in something that's a little bit ridiculous. So what this is doing is it gets us a behavior, and it sets that behavior, and then it's going to scroll it up by 1,000 at the beginning, and I just shifted that around, so let's Control Z that back. And so basically when we switch fragments, which is in our switch fragment method, which essentially just switches fragments and handles things like changing the title of the toolbar, we will scroll up and the coordinator layout to give us the toolbar showing. So that's how we got that done. Let me see if there's any questions on any of this, and then we'll start looking at the chart again. Perfect. So let's look at the chart. What are we missing on here? And actually, let's come back here first. Let's get rid of these log statements, and let me take a second to talk about this E method, because it's one of my favorite methods and I talk about it a lot. But we can Command B or Control B to jump to the declaration and see that this function is an extension function on any. And in Kotlin, any is equal to Java's object class. So you can call this method from anywhere. And what it does is, if you give it a message or anything, if you pass in anything, it will log that thing to string. And if you don't pass in something, which means this question mark means it can be null, then it will be no message provided. Or rather, if you pass in nothing at all, you'll get no message provided. And if you pass in a null value, it'll print null. And what's cool is that for the tag, it logs the class where this is called. So you automatically get the tag. And all you have to do is type E. And actually, we can even simplify this to one line if we wanted to. So let's do that. And actually gets us just past that line that makes it hard to read, so let's put it back. But you can simplify that to one line if you'd like. Similar to this one. If you have a function that's just got one thing in it, you can always just put equals in Kotlin, and it's just a shorter way to write your functions. Which I wonder if we could do it with this too. Let's find out. So if this returns a string, we can get rid of the return types, which makes it unnecessary. So I'm thinking if we set this equal to, and then brackets, and then maybe let it just end with this. That's interesting. Yeah, that totally worked. Cool. So then what this is saying is this is equal to some statement, which is inside the brackets here. And whatever value we set at the end is what it's going to be equal to. And this is similar, let me put this back because it is harder to read this way. So probably a better practice to still write it like this, but that's similar to how if statements work in Kotlin, which I'll put one in here just so we can, if you're not familiar with it, we've got, say, if 1 is 2, and you can have a variable like 3, or not 3 rather, x that equals this, and you can do else, and then if 1 equals 2, it'll be 1, otherwise it'll be 2. And that's perfectly legitimate code there. And so that's what gave me the idea that that would work down here, and it does, so that's cool. And you can also shorten this to be one line, so just if 1 else 2 is fine. And that is the replacement for the ternary operator from Java. So there's no, what was it? This guy, I think. Yeah. Or no, it'd be 3 something something question mark this, and then the other option that it would be, so that's replaced with a standard if statement. or what is it, statement, or one of them returns a value, one of them is just a thing you can do. And it's in the Kotlin docs. They're very good about using the right words for all this stuff, which is cool. Okay, so let's switch back. Let's get focused onto our chart fragment. And here's chart fragment, and in our chart fragment, very simple. We just have a chart view. And in the chart view, and we can get rid of this WebSocket class for now. So what we're looking at is we've got main activity, where we can get rid of this now. Talked about that. Okay, so get rid of some of those log statements we don't need anymore. And all right, we've got main activity, which hosts the fragments. And when we click the buttons on the bottom, we call this switch fragment method. As well as we save which fragment we're in as instance state and restore it from that as well. And so here's where we tie in the bottom navigation view with 0, 1, or 2 for the open orders, price chart, or trade history fragments. And then just at the top here, we declare an array of bottom nav items or bottom nav entries, which is called bottom nav items. And these guys are just combinations of titles and fragments. It makes it easy for us to loop through them and do everything based on indices rather than the actual objects themselves. So we can just use switch fragment 0, 1, and 2 instead of needing to keep all of this information in order. So just by passing in a 0, we get it needs to be called order book, and it needs to be the open orders fragment. Got it. So that makes things easier to pass around, as well as makes it a lot easier to restore instance state, because we only need to use one integer number to restore and save our state. Super simple. All right, so that gets everything set up, and when you click on the chart view, you get the chart fragment, which only returns a chart view. So pretty simple. And then inside the chart view, this is where we do a little bit more work. Now this, we could move this. The actual getting of the data, probably don't want to do that in the chart view itself, though it's working for us right now. We're not going to clean it up until we're done with the chart. But we would want to double check that when we're rotating the device, we're not re-getting the data, because that's unnecessary. So I think this would be a good place to perhaps use a view model, which we're already using a couple, so that wouldn't be too difficult for us to get done. Okay. So we're getting the data at a certain granularity, which tells us that each of our candles right now are going to be 1 hour candles, because this granularity is in, I believe, seconds. So 60 seconds and then 60 minutes. So that gives us granularity of an hour. And then down here in the onDraw call, this is where we actually do the drawing. And when the view is first built, it gets drawn one time, and this onDraw call gets called. And when this is first built and it is called, likely candles is going to be empty. So this whole block, nothing happens. So nothing gets drawn. So what we do is when we get our data back from our HTTP request, we call run on UI thread, because if you want to deal with a view, you need to do it on the UI thread. And then on the UI thread, we call, invalidate. And what invalidate does is it takes the view and says, you know what you've got is wrong. You need to draw yourself again. And then it's going to call onDraw again, and this time candles will not be empty because we've just retrieved them. Cool. So in here, candles is not going to be empty. We're going to take a subset of the candles. So right here, we're going to take from our candles array, we're going to take 60 of them. Just a number we picked. Then we're going to get the height and width of our space where we want the chart to go. So this is giving us the height of the canvas. So the canvas is kind of the whole screen area that we reserved for drawing. And we're going to take away 56 and then 40. And then we're going to take the width minus 100. And what that is going to do is get us these edges right here on the left and or on the bottom and on the right. Then we get the highest price and lowest price so that we can get the height, get these points just right. And then we draw the candles. using some logic to get all the different parts right. So, you know, are we using the green paint? Are we using the red paint? So for example, the green paint style is style stroke, which means that it's not going to fill in. The default style is fill, which is going to make the red paint fill, which is why we get the red columns all filled in. And we just draw everything. And so what we need to do is inside of our onDraw call, and here where we're drawing everything, we need to draw the axes labels, and I suppose the lines too. Probably want some lines. Let's look at the code, see if we need some lines. Or not the code rather, but in here. So they don't have any lines, so maybe we don't need lines. We at the least need prices though, and the prices need to be at the right spot. So we're gonna need to do a little bit of math to figure that out. Let's go back to the code here and see what we've got. Actually, let's first, we could pull this out. So we could pull this out into a function called draw candles, which would make our onDraw function a little bit easier to read. Let's see what that would take. Just because it's nice to have your onDraw function start when you start to have a bigger onDraw function and you're drawing, say, like if you're making a game and you're drawing the clouds in the background and you're drawing the trees, and then you've got to draw the character, and you've got to draw this house over here, and these are all different really loops that you're going to have to draw through to draw each piece specifically, and they all require lots of code. So it's nice when you can put it into a draw candles method that makes it a little easier to see. So let's go draw candles, and this is almost definitely going to take in a parameter and need to be a function. There we go. So let's see how we can get this done. So scaled height's pretty important. Canvas, chart width, and subcandles. That is a lot of pieces that we need for that. So we can do the same thing we did with scaled height here, which I don't think is quite ideal. But it will let us draw everything in a nice semantic way, as I think I'm trying to accomplish here. All right, let's do that then. We'll take this function, just paste it in here, draw candles, and draw candles. Perfect. So declaring functions inside of functions, perfectly okay in the Kotlin world. And so we want to do draw candles and then draw, let's just say draw right key. Key's not the right word. It's not a key. Draw right gutter, draw right stuff. Let's just go with stuff. We need labels. Labels is good. Labels. Draw price labels. Draw price labels. That's even better. Draw price labels. Okay. So we'll get draw price labels, then fun, draw price labels, and there we go. So in there, let's see what we need to do. We need to start at wherever this stops. So where does this start? The right edge of the 0th index. So this draws backwards. So this draws the right candle first, and then draws to the left because that's the most recent data. So if we start at the 0th indexed, that is going to be the one out here on the right. Although I suppose that looks differently and switched because of the camera. But so that'll be on the right. And so let's see, we've got chart width minus candle width times index times 1, which would be 0. So it'd be chart width, so minus 100. So we've got 100 pixels over there, which, should we replace that with a DIP value? That's, not sure. Let's see what the draw text function takes in, and then we'll go from there. So we've got 100 pixels to go for. So let's try to put one just, I suppose, right in the bottom. Canvas.draw text. All right, text works. Let's draw. That's too long. What's the price? Let's go with 3. And do they show a $? They do. 3.25. So they're showing it like that. Draw text. Then we need to pass in the X, Y, and paint, or start, end, X, Y, and paint. What would start, end be? It could be like the start and end of the string, like if you only wanted to show part of the string, though I'm not sure why you wouldn't just cut the string first. Let's just go with X and Y. So for X, we want chart width, and I think full stop, we just want chart width. It'll start at chart width and go to the right. Then for Y, let's just say 100, because that'll do that just fine. And then let's do, oh, we need a new paint color, don't we? Yes, we do. So let's get a new paint. Val, white paint equals paint. And then the bottom here, we can go white paint dot color equals color dot white. We haven't defined a good color for white, have we? Do our colors. Green, red, primary color, and primary color light. No, we have not defined a white, so we don't need to use our own white. We can use the one from Android, so color dot white. And we'll give it a stroke width of 3 as well, just like we are for the other two. Though that might be too much for text. We shall find out. Okay. Chart width dot to float. Not, yep, that works. And then white paint. Okay, and that is going to draw, you know what, since this is easy, let's do 315 and put it at 200 F, no, 400. And then let's run this, and we should be able to see those start to show up. Now, so one of the issues with creating a UI in this way is that it's a little more difficult than the layout manager at seeing what's going on. Though the layout manager is far from perfect, so I do find myself sometimes making UIs in code like this, especially with the Anko library, which we are using for our other views. So let's see, what do we have in the layout folder here? We've got the bottom navigation, which just seemed easier to do here instead of in Anko. And then we've got the completed trade. Because when you have, this is going to be the line there. When you have something like this, where you just want to get it right, it's just easier to knock it out in here and just include it in the layout. Not always easiest to use Anko, but it is very easy. Okay, trade history, price chart. Oh boy. That is some small text. Look at that. So there it says something. Oh, and then it quit on us. Okay, so cool. Let's start with that error. Can't forget about that. But let's also remember that the text was super, super tiny. Okay, error. Logcat. And, oh boy. Okay, this is disconnected. Let's go to the one that is connected. Great. Couldn't read from cursor window. All right, so that doesn't strike me as something that I did. So let's ignore that. Hope it doesn't happen again. Perhaps something just went wrong. And in the meantime, let's look for a text size property or something on our white paint here, because stroke width didn't do much for us. So white paint dot, cool, text size equals 22F. Maybe it's pretty similar to text sizing like we're used to. And so this would be, you know, size 22 SP or just a standard 22. Let's see if there's any questions in the meantime. Cool. All right, that's running. It's gonna come up here in a second, installing APKs. And trade history. Now, if you're new to the app, watch, it's gonna clear this all away and it's gonna start trickling back in. Yep, so the first step in our app is it clears out the database before starting to load the database again with new data. And that's just a way for us to, every time the app is loaded into memory, so not when your activity rotates, but every time the app is actually launched, we're just going to start from scratch and say we want to get new data. Just because, say, if you've been away for this for a week or something, and the price, you have stuff in here that says like 310 or maybe even 260 or just something that's not at all close to what it is now, it would look a little funky. So we just clear it whenever you open the app, give you new information. All right, price chart. Okay, that's a little better. First thing I want to notice though is we definitely want to kick it off of that edge a little bit. We don't want it to be right on there. And let's make the text a bunch bigger. So let's try like 36 here. And we'll back it off that edge by, let's say, 2 dp. We can use dp for that, right? Chart width, the dot float. So chart width plus dipf. Dip, okay, we can do 2f and that'll make it return a float. And that should upcast the integer to a float, but no. I guess that makes it an int return there. Bummer. So, okay. Val x position equals chart width plus dip2. And how do we want to cast that? To float, I guess. And then here I can use the middle mouse button to select both of these rows and then just type xpos. Probably don't hit enter. And that'll do it. So gets that over, gives us our little bit of buffer that we wanted to add in to see what it looks like. We made the text bigger. Let's see what that looks like. Perhaps this is a winning combination. Then the next step is we need to get the heights just right. So we need to know what the highest price and the lowest price is. Then we need to go between them in intervals of whatever interval they're using. What interval are they using? They are using an interval of 25 for 6 hour. We want to do the 1 hour. So actually I think the bigger thing is okay, so then they're doing 20. So they're having about 5 labels per thing, and they're having it fall on the 5s or the 10s, it looks like. 15 minute, yeah, now that falls on something else. So maybe just evenly splitting it, depending on, so again, we're using 1 hour on ours right now, so this is kind of the chart we want to look like. And what, actually, let's make sure we look like that. Though, to be fair, it'll be, oh, that text looks much easier to read. Rotating it should make it easier to see. Yep, there it is. Look, that matches perfectly. All right. And notice that since we've got ours stretching from the bottom to the top completely with just a little offset for label room, it is just looks a little different because they've added some headroom up top that they don't need there. And they've got a little room at the bottom. So we're not quite exactly the same, but I think this is plenty good enough. That chart looks exactly the same. And it should. It's using the same data, right? All right, let's get those labels in there. Let's get them in the right spot. And let's make them a little bit smaller, maybe. And actually, you know what? I don't think the $ is necessary. Can try getting rid of it, but actually we need to start working on this programmatic approach for the price labels. So let's go from lowest price and what is scaled height takes in a price. So let's rename this parameter. And that'll help us remember that we pass in a price here and it tells us where our Y value is for that price, which makes this really, really easy. We just have to pick Y values, pick prices to show. So we can go from lowest price and we can make a range from lowest price to highest price, which should step as integers through that range. I think. Well, guess we'll find out, right? Okay, so we're gonna take that range, and then we can do for each. No, can't do. What can we do? Dot. We should have it. Maybe it's not counting that as a range. Okay, let's see. Where did we end up? All right, let's make a range that I know works. So 1 to 2. There's map. And lowest price to highest price dot map. Okay, yeah, because that doesn't make sense because it's using float values. So lowest price to int, highest price to int. Okay, and then dot for each. Yep, perfect. And if it being the integer value mod 20 is 0, then we will draw some text. And we will draw the text of it, which is the price. So get rid of our $sign there and just go with it. So we're going to lose the $sign and the finished product. We're using it here as a string template to say it, which is the integer that we are looping through. So it'll be the lowest price to the highest price, which will be like 300 to 340 or something. And then we want the X position, and for the Y position, we want scaled height of the price, which is it, dot to float. Be nice if there's a superset of int and float I could use for that. Okay, let's see that, see if it works. I think I've got that just right. So again, we're not doing any of this sort of smart handling that we're seeing here. So see, they've got it. Of course, you know, we've got a lot more work done here, but they can switch to 6 hours and it'll change to a different thing. Right now, we've hard coded it to $20 increments, so we might want to find a smarter approach for that. Or perhaps they hard coded them for these intervals. Hard to tell. Though I imagine that's not the case. All right, did that finally run? Let's see. All right, perfect. And price chart. Cool, we've got 340 at the top. Yep, that's true. 320 there, 300 there. I think that looks awesome. And if we rotate it, to the point where it'll go portrait mode. So remember, this has to be on the top. You gotta have your phone up for portrait mode to work. That's just how it is. Yeah, I think that looks really good. Awesome. Now let's try to add some smartness to that to see if it can figure out a range. So let's say we want to do the highest price. We want to do 5 markers of price. We want them to be a multiple of 5, and we obviously want them to be between the highest price and the lowest price. So let's get the highest. Let's see how we can do this. We can do highest price minus lowest price to get the difference. We can take that and divide it by 5 to get sort of a range. Then we can take, and that'll give us kind of how many it should be. And then we need to find this number, and I'd say we go down to find what interval we should go. So then from here, I wonder if you can break out of one of those. Let's go 4 I and that down to to int down to 5 if I mod 5 is 0, okay, we need a var rather. What is this? Size, like distance between y values. Skip, I'll call it skip. Skip sounds like a good variable. Let's go to how much distance do you skip from y value to next y value. And we'll start it just as 5. Okay. Then we've got working down the range. And this is just a different way to type this loop right here, actually. This is more normal way to type it. This would be, so we could do from highest, down to, we could do this the exact same way. So I guess just showing 2 different ways there. All right, so we've got if I mod 5 equals 0. So if we've got one that is modulus 5, so it's something that's a multiple of 5, then we're going to accept it. So we're going to say skip is I and break out of the for loop. And oh, is it going to tell us to do, yeah, it's even going to tell us to first or null. Oh my goodness. This is interesting. Okay. So it did replace it with a down 2. Oh, that's cool. That is cool. Wow. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit and let me give us some more room here. Okay, so we have a loop, and let's put another variable in here to make it easier to see. So var start val starting skip equals. So we're starting with some skip value that is probably not divisible by 5. And what we're going to do is just walk down until we find one that is divisible by 5. So then we get to here. Then we get this, which we take out. We take this range starting skip down to 5, and we say dot for each, and then we take the for each, and we take I, and we make it. Oh, but that doesn't give us the break. Wow, this is tricky. All right, let's go back to what they had here. So there's that for I, and starting skip down to 5. We're going to set our skip value, which, yeah, correct, is not being used. And then here, let's try that alt-enter stuff again and get our first or null. And let's, okay, perfect. That gives us, no, quit doing that. Put that on the same line. Okay, so first or null, let's look at this guy. Returns the first element matching the given predicate, or null if element was not found. Okay, so in here, for each one of these, it's going to give us the first one that matches this predicate. So the first value from starting skip down to 5 that 5 is a multiple of is going to be our skip. So that's going to give us a skip that is for sure a multiple of 5 and not larger than starting skip, which is the highest price minus lowest price divided by 5, which means that we're going to have 5, maybe 6 points on the screen, kind of depending on how that all works out. And then we have a minimum of 5. So for example, if we take 4 down to 5, that's going to give us null for this whole value right here, because you can't do 4 down to 5, it just doesn't make sense. And then if it's null, we get a value of 5. So that's awesome. That is super cool. So then in here, we go from lowest price to highest price. And if it equals, if the price that we're looping through is modulus skip equals 0, so if it's a multiple of our skip value, then we will print it. Okay, this is interesting. Let's see what that did. There's a really cool refactoring there. And jump to the app here. Trade history. Give that a second. It'll clear out as the database is cleared when the app is first created. Though the database is cleared in a separate thread than the UI, which is why the UI is able to load kind of before that delete has finished happening. That we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marks on the screen. They are right where they need to be. And I might even want some more space between those. Let's come in here, get that dip 2 and put it to dip 8 just to see if that, see if that really punches that up a bit. There we go. That looks more offset, more kind of in the middle of that column onto the right. Awesome. Okay, now we need to get the bottom. This one is a little bit more difficult because for each of these guys, do we have, let's see, what information do we have? Candles. And for each candle, so let's get candles 0 dot time, and we need to get from Android timestamp to date. Okay, let's see. Looks like I've searched for this a couple of times. All right, let's just copy this function. 52 upvotes seems to be, well, it seems plenty for me. All right, get this in here. Wait, is this our class? This is the onDraw call, so we're down here. Yeah, please convert it to Kotlin. Uh-oh. Android Studio seems to be frozen. Are we back? All right, we're back. Chart view, and it gave us this nice get date function. So we're going to take our first candle and we're going to call get date on that, and we're just going to log that as, let's just get something out in front of it so it's really easy to see, because I'm not sure how many log messages we've got at the moment. So then we'll wrap this in a string template that'll print it. All right, then we're good, right? Nope. What do we need? Calendar. Yes, we can import the calendar and import date format too. That's fine. Why would dot format not be there? Did I import the wrong date format class? Okay, calendar imported. Import Android text format, maybe? That seems to work. Okay. And actually, I'm remembering we had to do time stuff somewhere else, so let me find that. Sorry, I didn't remember that the first time. There's some code in here. For example, let's look here on the trade history page. These times, we had to do work to get these times to show up appropriately, especially to get them to show up as my local time zone or your local time zone if you download the app yourself. So that's going to be on the trade history, probably adapter. Yikes, that's a mess. Okay. So we're getting the GMT offset, DST offset, then we're getting the, oh, this is a little different, because there they give us a time string that actually has the time in it, so we just need to, here we parse it out and then add the offsets that we need. So we get the substring before this, which would be the hour marker, and then we offset that hour and grab the rest of it, which is the substring after the colon, and then we put it together, and right here with hours, colon, minutes, seconds, and that gives us this guy. So that's a little different because it starts with some text rather than a long, which is what we're starting with over here. We have a time stamp, so we can use property syntax there. Okay, day, month, year, year, year. I don't think they're using year, year. Year, 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 year. No, they're not. And they're even, that, you know, this makes things a little trickier for us, but that is okay. We can try and handle that. So let's just do day, month, month, and leave it at that. Okay, then we're gonna see if that prints when we run this. It'll also print out the highest candle, lowest candle, and canvas height, which I don't think we need anymore. We trust that those are all correct at the moment. All right, so that's building. We're gonna see the date right here with a bunch of pound signs. We're gonna get the date for our guy there, and then we will probably do something very similar to this with skip to figure out what we need to show. Although if I was the designer of this, you might want to just hard code those. So for example, this 1 hour, if you know you're showing 60 periods, which is what we show, just to match this, then you know, for example, for hours, that maybe 12 p.m. and the day markers are what you need. So that seems to be something you'd want to hard code, because it would be a little more difficult to, you know, nuance that out. So for here, 6 hours, they're showing every 4 days, 5 days, no, 3 days. And what are they doing for 15 minutes? Every 3 hours, and then still showing the day. So maybe they are using the same code between everything. Can you drag this? No, you can't. So, all right, app should be running now. And price chart. Okay, and then we need to look for our log message. So it should be at the bottom. We can jump down there. And right there, it says 1801. Nope. That doesn't make any sense. So let's go back to chart view at the bottom here, and let's put back in that YY stuff. And which means we'll have to take out this, because what could be the case here, I think it's giving us seconds, and this is expecting the time in milliseconds. So we may have to multiply the time by 1000 to turn it from seconds to milliseconds. Because see, we are setting the time in millis, but depending on what year we see here, we'll know if this is, if that's the case. So, you know, if it's forever ago, like sometime in the 80s maybe, or how long would it take to get 4 digits out on milliseconds? Not sure, but it should show us here in a second. Yeah, it's 18 days after 1970. Yeah, that's not right. So let's do time times 1000. That should give us a time that's a lot closer. And what we're looking for is about, let's go to the hour candles. We are looking for September 5th, right around the start of September 5th. Let's see, looks like it falls on this candle, so maybe just before September 5th. So September 4th and change. And go check out the log statements here. We've got September 7th of 2017. Oh, right. We are logging the first one. That's the one we're picking out right now. So we're looking at this one, not this one. And what that's going to give us is, of course, today. So that's what we got. All right, cool. That gives us the right date. So now how can we figure out the right time frame there? So let's hard code it as days first, or 12 hours. It's doing 12 hours. We can hard code 12 hours and go from there. So time in millis, got that. That's fine. Now we don't need this part anymore. Years not super relevant. And they are also using, okay, so we need to look up our date formats. Java date format. Are we using simple or date format? Date format, this one. This one. What? Where are my parameters? Bummer. Customizing formats. Come on, somebody. There we go. Which one's going to say SEP? June. There we go. We need MMMD. And where are these? Okay, here we go. This is what we're looking for. This chart right here, I think. Example. Month and year, text and number, day and month. So how did they get this June? That seems to be MMM. Okay. Which maybe, so number, okay, the number of symbol letters you specify also determines the format. For example, if the ZZ pattern results in PDT, then the ZZZZ pattern generates Pacific Daylight Time. The following table summarizes these rules. So 3 M's is 1 less from full form. So yeah, I guess that gives us June. All right, so we'll go with a big M, or 3 big M's, and then a D for a lowercase d for day and month. All right, that works for me. 3 big M's and then a D. And do we need a hyphen between them? Is that important? Doesn't seem to be. Did it print out with a hyphen in it? It did. Let's say we don't need that. All right, so that'll give us that part. Then we know we're going to have 60 candles. So splitting the bottom part and 5s is actually really easy. You just pick the 60 or the 5 divided by 60 ones. So let's go draw time labels. Draw. Actually, we need it to be a function. And is this going to autocomplete for me? Wonderful. Wunderbar. All right, now we want to work from left to right. So we want to work from 0 to chart width. And for each, if it's 12, if it mod 12 is 0, no, not mod 12, because might be easier to draw the time labels and with the candles, sort of an X pass and a Y pass. Let's see. Sub candles, for each candle we get an index. If index mod 12 is 0, since there's 60 candles, so 12 is 60 divided by 5. Yep, that sounds right. And then in here, so if it is, we want to print canvas.draw text. We want to get that candle, or let's get the date string. Well, date equals date stir equals get date for candle dot time. Perfect. Then we want to draw the date stir. And we want the X position to be left. And then we need the Y position, which is going to be right at the bottom. So I guess that'd be just top, right? Real height, canvas.height. Right, and then it would draw back up, or would it draw down? Let's go with canvas.height and see what that gives us. So we'll have canvas.height, and then the paint. Okay, and this needs to be 2 floated, I guess. Actually, let's do canvas.height, 2 float minus 100, or no, just rather minus 100F for right now, just to, or 20F, just to make sure that if we're drawing it at the canvas, if that were to put it below the screen, then we wouldn't know that it drew it at all. So by giving it a minus 20F, and remember, and programming for computers, down is positive in the Y direction, so minus 20F brings it up from the bottom just a little bit. That'll make sure that if it's drawing below the screen, we'll see just the top of it and we'll know, oh, hey, that's definitely just drawing below the screen. It's not hidden, or, you know, we've not messed up in some other way. Just let me check in here too. Cool. All right, so price chart. And we are not seeing anything. So did my 20 not work? What is going on here? Okay, let's get a little login here. We can log index colon date string comma left and comma canvas height minus 20F. So we'll print all that out so we'll be able to see what's going on. So if we don't see any of those, then we know that something for sure is wrong with our index here, because it should be mod 12 5 times. Or actually maybe not, because it wouldn't get to 60. So it'd be well, it'd be 0, 12, 24, 36, 48. And then, so yeah, that'd be 5. But we'd like to have 0 and 60. Perhaps. Okay, there we go. Price chart. Let's see what we printed out for this. 0, 12, 24, 36, 48. Okay, just like I thought. We've got September 7th. Okay, great. Oh. Right. Wait, no. So we have the date string, then we have left. Okay, those are fine. And then canvas.height. Okay, what did we, oh, right. So this guy right here, let's see, where are you? Minus DIP 56, that is sort of important. That is the bar at the bottom. So we're hiding our text down here still. We've brought it up 20 pixels, but it's still somewhere in this. And we need that minus 56 DP to account for that. So really, this needs to be that, minus 56 DP. And .toFloat as well. Okay, so then that should print it out, albeit backwards. So we might want to make it only print on ones where mod 12 is not 0. We might want to use something else for that. Let's look. Price chart. Yeah, so we would rather have this September 7th, this one right here, be over here. So we can do that. Let's change this to, so how would we get, that would be the last index, so that would be the index 59. So 59 mod 12 would be 11. Let's see what 11 gives us. We'll do 11 there, and we want to back it up. I think we do want to back this up. DIP 8 maybe. Yeah, to give it some space off the bottom there. We can stop printing that out. So if you looked at the bottom of this screen, it was the text was very, very close to the bottom navigation view. So adding this little buffer there will just give us some space to clear that out. All right, let's see. Apps coming up. All right, got trade history page getting loaded, price chart. Cool, September 4th, 5th, 6th, 6th. That looks good. Looks like 8 DP may be a bit much. So we'll back that off to 4. And let's make the real height minus DIP 8. Or what would DIP 8 be? It's usually times 4, so let's do it minus 100. So I don't like it as 100 just because it should be a DIP value. Is that, or 40 rather. 40. Let's do DIP 16 for that. So 56, let's add a comment. 56 DP is bottom, and let's name it correctly. What are you called? You are a bottom navigation view is bottom navigation view height. All right, so cool. We got that in there. We don't need to log this anymore either. So we can run this again and we should see this is going to be different. So 16, usually a DIP means like times 4. So it should be a little more than 40, 24 more than 40, which should give us a little more space on the bottom. And then bumping that back from 8 to 4 should make it a little closer to the bottom. The text should be a little closer. So price chart. Cool, that looks really good. And then there it's a little off, but that's okay. Wonder why that is. Our DIP values, DIP. I'll use in DIP there. That should still be 56 DP. 6 is 16 for that. Minus DIP 4. What if we change that to 20? Just to see if we can get that to look a little better in that portrait view while we're getting this running. And also, I think I want to bring in that one that was the date time thing that was shown on the edge there. So we could do if index mod 12 equals 11 or index is 0. And then that'll give us that very first one on the right edge, because this works backwards from right to left, which looks this way for you guys. All right, let's look back at the code here, or rather the price chart. It looks the same. So what was that, DIP 4? Yeah. I'll just change that to DIP 2. Well, 2 wasn't enough though, was it? No, it's gotta be 4. Not ideal. Why will you not sit on the bottom there? What is the issue? Canvas height minus DIP 56 should be right here. Right up to here. Minus DIP 4 should not be that much. It isn't that much when we show it this way. So interesting. But either way, wait a minute. Give me my index 0. Run you again. I want 6 points there. All right, so we've got that. Now we need to make it show so that the one at 12 noon shows something a little different. So get date. All right, now price chart. Yeah, that looks good. So we got this over here. Now, if we want to take a more nuanced approach to this, how did we get these set to 5? Those shouldn't be a 5, should they? 5? What? No, you're supposed to be highest price. You were like 25 earlier. What are you doing, Skip? How is Skip getting set to 5? Log starting Skip here. And we'll also log the skip. And we'll do that here. So inside the quotes, I'm going to go comma skip colon $ skip. That'll show us that. And we'll run this again. And okay, we've got the date format. That looks good. I don't think we need to log candles anymore. Or that we are drawing. We understand that one pretty well. And there's our starting message. Okay, we've ran, the app is running again. And price chart. Starting is 8 and skip is 5. How's starting 8? Starting price. So I guess highest price minus lowest price divided by, okay, well that adds up then if that's the case. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's kind of a max for what we'd expect to see there though. So let's, to test that, let's back this up. Let's make this a day. So we could do 24 times 60 times 60. So 24 hours. And then we'll be matching up against this guy instead. Actually, let's see. Where did that go? Here we go. And then instead of 1 hour, we go to 1 day. That should give us a bigger price swing. Yeah, look at that. From, I didn't know it got that low. 130 or so, all the way up to 400. And then price chart. Yeah, that looks good. And look, it's got the dates kind of skipping every once in a while too, because we know there's going to be 60 points, so really easy to get the date right for those. Yeah, all right. That looks awesome. And then rotate. Oop, wrong way. Gotta keep going. Rotate to here. There we go, 350. Yeah, love it, cool. All right. You know what, I think that looks, all right, let's get a, how can we do that with the fragment? It'd be nice to be able to set the candles. How easy would that be? Let's try to refactor. So let's get a function, reset candles, and we'll put in a variable here. This needs to take in a granularity, which is an integer. And all it's going to do is call this. So we're going to reset candles and be 60 times 60. That'll give us hours. And now you should be being used, yes? No, you're up here, endpoint. So let's get the endpoint out, bring the endpoint into here. There we go. That's a small testable thing we can have here. So now this function barely needs to exist in this class. Yeah, it's only here because it hasn't validated really. Well, and I guess it gives us our candles variable, so we'll leave it here for now. But all right, we've got reset candles. Let's do some toolbar stuff. So how do we add options to our toolbar? Let's go get a new guy here. Close some of these tabs we don't need. Add options to toolbar Android. This should give us something pretty easy here. Actually, let's be more specific. Add spinner to toolbar. Perfect. So all right, so they have inside their toolbar, they declare a spinner. Does that work? Toolbar, inside toolbar, gonna make a spinner. Okay. And then on my spinner, what do we set? We get the spinner here. Then we set the spinner adapter. Okay, so let's copy this code here and hope that this copies over well. So, yep, convert to Kotlin, please. Adapter, array adapter. So then they have an array here. So array of, and we'll say A and, oops, did I add an extra comma? Yes, and B. And what do you want? Inferred type is array string, but int was expected. What? Oh, really? Create from resource. Okay. Sorry, I can't read. Array adapter dot. Okay, that's frustrating. Do I really need to create? And we're going to do this at main activity. All right, I guess we can create an array resource. That'd be r.array. Is that really? So is there an Android resource directory for arrays? I think it'd be values. Values. Where do you put that? Can we not use create from resource? There's got to be a better way to do that. So clicking in here, we're going to Control F, search for resource, create from resource. Darn it. You guys really feel the need to add extra files to your projects. There is definitely a better way to do that. Come on. r.array spin array list item. Yes, but where are you declaring it? Is this it? Action bar spinner menu XML. Nope. Add array to spinner. Yes, there we go. Just there go. Copy that instead. Huh? All right, get rid of this. Although I think the second line's exactly the same. Oh, darn it. Darn it. Okay, gotta copy that, paste over it. What? Oh, it has accidentally gotten rid of it, so let's get rid of that. We'll have to copy it one more time. Actually, let's give us a little more room over there. So tab back over here, copy it, come back, paste it, and yep, please convert to Kotlin for me. And then array adapter, it wants this to be this at main activity, because currently here this is referring to the spinner, which is not what it's looking for. And then it needs an array, so array of and a comma b, and everybody's happy about that. Cool. So then spinner array adapter, set dropdown resource, then set adapter, or rather adapter just equals spinner array adapter, which we created up there. All right, let's see if that added a spinner to our toolbar. So we put a spinner inside of our toolbar, and yeah, maybe that will add a spinner to our toolbar, and we'll be able to hide it depending on what's visible. I'm not really sure what's going to happen about that actually, but I'm excited. So let's see. Spinner. All right. It's not styled well, and it should be over on the right, but hey, that's cool. So spinner, let's do some .l params, try and get it over to the right. So gravity, ooh, it takes in a gravity right here. That's cool. Gravity dot right. Gravity, let me import you. Dot right. Is that going to put us over there? Maybe. And text color. Set title text color. Color dot white. And was there other text color here? Let's try setting that to text color. Set subtitle. I don't think we had subtitles, but wait, why are you having issue with this? Set title text color. This dot set title text color. Okay, this dot. I see. So, okay, not entirely sure how to change that color. Let's run this and see if we got the right gravity to work for us. Change spinner text color. So yeah, customize the, oh good, there's our spinner over there on the right. And now we need its text color to be different. So probably what we need is a new style. So let's look, what are we using here? Yeah, drop down view resource, and we've got simple spinner item. Let's take this guy, and what is it? What do we want here anyway? What is this parameter? This is a resource. Simple spinner item and spinner drop down item. Not sure what the difference is there. So let's take this guy, and we're going to come into styles and create a new style. So style name, go away documentation, style name, and we'll call this my spinner style with a parent of maybe not that. Okay. Maybe it's not a style. Actually, that's probably the case. So it wants a resource ID for that. Okay, let's give you a layout resource, my spinner, make it a relative layout. Actually, can we just figure out what this is? That would be interesting. So over here we can just search for that. There we go. Somebody's asking what the difference is. I like that. Okay. This is a bummer. Android change spinner text programmatically, please. A custom adapter. Oh, but then it's gonna look ugly. I want to take the regular one and just make it the right color. So this one's from 2016 instead of 2010, so maybe they'll know something we don't here. Yeah, they're using a custom XML piece too, which is totally acceptable. We can make a text view to use as the layout right here, but they've got a good one already. It's just the wrong color. Okay, here we go. Just override. Yep, that's what I was thinking the first time. Perfect. Okay. So back in styles, because that's we just want to change the color. Fine, don't accept color that white. Accept Android color white. Haha. I don't think I necessarily want to change that font color. And we need to take this, put it up here. That our text appearance list item small is that. Let's see what that does. Though this gets into, if this does what I think it'll do, then I have a small issue with this code. We'll see. All right, that's running. Gradle is building. Almost got an app here. And remember, we're looking at the toolbar, trying to see if it has changed color. And I'm imagining that, oh wait, did it not change at all, or did, so that didn't change. Android text color white, right, pet subhead. There's a way to change this through styles and themes, which always. Okay. All right, we are going to change this to only answers posted in the past year. That's awful. All right, that's not giving us a ton of responses. Let's change that to custom range. We'll go from 2014 to now. Okay. No, I don't want it. Fine, we'll use a custom text view for, I suppose, both of them. All right, let's go back in here. Kind of a lot of work just to get one of these guys done. So file name, this is spinner item, and it's not a linear layout. I don't quite think you need an ID here. Color. Android. Oh wait, we need this to be at Android. Color white. Okay. Then we want to use, and here set drop-down view resource is r.layout.spinner item. And let's use spinner item for both of them. And we'll see if that doesn't work for some reason. All right. And if you're looking at this code and saying, oh no, there's these little red marks, you have errors, don't worry about that. We have got that covered. What it's telling us is that we have an expected resource of type ID. So it's thrown up on me because we've got these integers we're using instead of IDs. Now, luckily for us, the ID needs to be an integer. It doesn't actually need to be a resource of type ID. The resources, all the XML stuff that you use in Android is only for convenience. And a lot of the times it's just not that convenient. Like here, where we just need an ID real quick so we can use it down here. So we just use 1, 2, 3, call it a day. Pretty simple. And we didn't end up doing anything with this style, so let's Control Z out all this stuff. Cool. Price chart. Look at that. White. Yay. And then white on white. Boo. We can change that background to something else. Equals color primary. Though I think that'll give us an issue that it'll change the background up here, so we might need to here. So let's get ready for that. So spinner drop down item, and that will have the background, and we'll leave spinner item to not have it, probably, pending these results. Yeah, so see, we don't want that to have that background color, but this one having it is fine. Why is there white over there? That doesn't make any sense. That's super weird. Okay, so, oh no, don't run that yet. We need to change it to main activity. We want spinner item and then spinner dropdown. Team item. Okay, and then on item selected listener. Oh no, I thought that would. On item click listener. Can we get one of these to be one of these fellas as a function? On click. Set on click listener. That's frustrating. So set on click listener view. All right, well, we'll have to look into that in just a second. Okay, so we've got that. What? No. You should be the right one. Spinner drop down item. Maybe we didn't finish typing it in time. Just run that again. And while we're at it, let's get a late init var spinner. We can set spinner equal to spinner. And then down here in switch fragment, if entry.fragment is chart fragment, then what did we just call that? Started with an S. Spinner dot visibility visible else, and actually we can write this better. Hopefully it'll visibility equals view dot gone. Give that a